Good evening, Amherst County. My name is Rob Arnold. I'm the Superintendent of Schools for Amherst County Public Schools, and I'm joined tonight by Dr. William Wells, the Assistant Superintendent, and Josh Bauer, who represents Crabtree, Rohrbaugh, and Associates. We're here tonight in our current auditorium in the high school to kick off our auditorium project event, and what we're going to do tonight is have Mr. Bauer come up and do a presentation that gives you the concepts of what we would like to do here in the high school in terms of a new auditorium, how to repurpose this space that we're in right now, and do some things with our kitchen and dining area. It will provide us, well, it will provide the county with a great amount of space to have events. Currently, we are in the largest, other than the high school gymnasium, the largest indoor facility in Amherst County to hold events. And I think for our community, it would be important to have a facility that was large enough to host events that we all could be proud of. And we certainly have groups of students that are in the arts that also deserve to be in a state-of-the-art auditorium that they can show off all the great things that they do. One of the things we wanted to do tonight was to present this in our current auditorium, because we stand in a room that for 30 plus years there's been discussion about building a new auditorium in Amherst County Public Schools. And I believe over the last 30 years it's probably been in 4 CIPs, capital improvement plans, and it's never happened. And right now we have an opportunity to do this. As a community, we have the opportunity to come together and do something that is going to benefit our students and benefit the entire community as a whole. So for us tonight, Mr. Bauer is going to come up. One of the things I want to stress is we're going to introduce the process to you. Next week on November 3rd, on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, we will be here, I believe, in the cafeteria. We will have an in-person kind of town hall meeting where you can come, after you've seen the presentation, you can come and give your thoughts and ideas about the spaces and what we're trying to accomplish. On Thursday, November 4th, we will be at Manellison Middle School in the cafeteria at 7 o'clock, and we'll do the same thing there. So we wanted to make sure we would have that available on both ends of the county. So we urge you to come and have your voice heard. It is very important to this process for the entire community to have input. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bauer. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arnold. Yes, I am Josh Bauer with Crabtree, Rohrbaugh & Associates. I'm a principal in the firm, architect, and senior project manager. And as Dr. Arnold said, we are just getting started in this process. So this is kind of the beginning of the multi-phase overall master plan what our goal is with phase 1A is to talk about that auditorium addition. So without further ado, so tonight we just did our introductions. We're going to review the phases. We're going to talk about the phases 1A through 3. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the schedule, which kind of Dr. Arnold spoke about a few minutes ago. I broke it already. Okay, there we go. So we're looking at essentially really 4 different phases. We're breaking up to phase 1A, 1B, 2, and 3. So phase 1A, as Dr. Arnold said, is a new auditorium. We're looking at a new auditorium along with creation of additional parking spaces. Phase 1B is looking at renovating the cafeteria and food court. Phase 2 is the renovation of existing CTE spaces and converting this current auditorium space into potential educational space. And then phase 3 is looking at renovating and doing some ADA upgrades at the stadium and also a softball and baseball field house. So looking at the overall site, so for those of you familiar, this is an aerial of your high school site. So this is the front of the building. For those who entered the building, you'd be entering it about right here. The back, which is where your current driver's ed space is where we're looking at possibly putting the 1,400 seat auditorium. Along with those upgrades, we'll be looking at on the site is making some improvements to the car drop-off area. Instead of creating the addition of an auditorium along with the common spaces, some storage areas. What you can see here is that we're looking at the future phases, which is the upgrades to the stadium, the softball field, and then the future parking area, which would be included in phase 1A. As we do a deeper dive into each one of the phases. So again, with phase 1A, we'll be looking at the addition of the auditorium and commons area, along with the additional parking areas and upgrades to the parent drop-off, and then potentially the future parking area on school division-owned property, which is located over here. So we would have the extension of the road and the additional parking spaces. So now let's go into the building. As we're looking at some options on how the auditorium could be placed, kind of the orientation of the auditorium, what we want to try to do is get the biggest bang for our buck for the additions and for this project. So with a 1,400 seat auditorium, what we may do is actually run it parallel with the face of the gymnasium. So just to orient you, here's your main gym, your auxiliary gym. This is the corridor. So if you go out that way, would be this corridor access. Your current cafeteria is here, and your dining hall is over here. So what we're looking to do, as it would, is the first phase is to do mostly additions. So this would be the addition of the auditorium, along with a commons and a lobby. So what does this benefit? So the commons and the commons and lobby space not only benefits the auditorium but also the gymnasium. So for those of you who've been in your gym, know that the lobby is tiny. You got a couple of tiny little toilet rooms that are associated with it. What this does for you on the gym side is creates a new Hall of Fame commons that could be right along the space, along with additional toilet rooms, concessions, really amplify your overall gymnasium experience for all your indoor sports or any activity that's happening there. And then for the auditorium, so we're looking at a full stage that would be both accessible from the front. So if you're coming from the seating area, you would actually have access directly from the seating area up onto the stage. And here's what's also cool about this is that, as you can tell, we're excited about this future project. Is that we would have some overhead doors on the back side of the stage. So what that would allow us to do is to be able to really bring large scenery. We've done some really fantastic auditoriums where they've actually driven cars onto the stage. So if you've done Grease or seen some of the classic films, and be able to really bring a large large cars and large scenery onto that stage directly from the outside, along with some scenery prep area, and I said, and with the auditorium. We're looking at a handful of different things, including the orchestra area. Do we have a space where we can remove amount of seating? In the back of the auditorium, do we have the areas for black box? Do we have bleacher seating to be able to maximize the amount of space? And also, can we create space that we can allocate for everyday use, for large group activities? So we're really looking to make this auditorium not only a space to be able to do plays and do orchestras and large performances, but also on an everyday basis to be able to engage and have students, be in the space. And one of the other challenges is as we are unfortunately in a COVID environment, is have the areas for students to be able to spread out. Right here in the auditorium that we're standing in. With the amount of seats and trying to spread out the students, we can fit very, very small amount of students in the space. So this really allows us to have a maximum amount, have an entire class in with social distancing, in this future auditorium. So as we look at this area here, which we're calling the commons and dining space, this really kind of serves multiple functions. One is it serves a lobby for your auditorium and your gymnasium, your auxiliary gym. For after-hour activities, but also this allows, the future dining hall that as we're looking at the next phases, and if we renovate the kitchen and food courts, this allows us to have a dining room that would have natural daylight in, to be a larger space, for social distancing. and really kind of amplify this. So as we're looking at all of phase 1A, the goal is to make sure that not only is this going to be after hours and community, the use for the community and for the students, but also during the everyday that these spaces are going to be used by the students. And that's a dining room, the auditorium. The auditorium space and all the commons can be used by the students on an everyday basis. So that kind of encompasses, phase 1A. So we talked a little bit about enhancing the parent drop-off and the addition. So this is mostly with phase 1A is we're looking at the addition of the auditorium and commons. As we now look to phase 1, and these are some potential elevations. This is what we presented at the interview. These have not gone through the vetting process to make sure that the administration, the high school, the school board have all approved these. These are just images that we put together for what this could look like. So you see the auditorium volume, the entrance, after hours entrance, and along with the cafeteria space. These are just some exterior shots of what this could look like. As we move around now from the interior, you can see a lot of daylighting for the dining space. Along with that entrance, and then here you can see the entrance to the auditorium. So as we move now from phase 1A, which is primarily looking at the auditorium and commons addition, now phase 1B, now we're talking about the food. And what can we do to enhance the dining experience for the students? So we already talked about with phase 1A, which would be a first course with the dining room. Now what we could do is look to renovate the kitchen and your existing dining room space. So the kitchen could become a food court. And what we would project is to take your existing dining room space, convert part of that into the kitchen, and then take the kitchen and make that a food court. We expect this to be anywhere from a 4 to 5 month process. And the goal would try to keep the dining open the entire time during that, maximizing the summertime for the renovation. But what this would allow to happen is that we would have a full food court where students would be able to enter in, be able to select their dining options and come back up through the point of sale, and then be able to enjoy the new commons dining space on an everyday basis. You're doing a fantastic job of offering students different meal courses with your current option. The challenge is they're kind of spread all throughout your dining room. So what this will allow you to do is really kind of focus and have them all in one space. And then there's an option to be able to start to create your existing dining room into CTE or other educational space. So this really kind of allows us to maximize and to renovate this. Our goal would be is to not have the kitchen down while the students are in session. So while it may be a 4 or 5 month process, the goal would be to try to maximize this, the summertime, so that way we didn't have the dining room down while students are in session. So this is phase 1B. It's a conversion of your existing kitchen and dining room into food court space and a new educational space. So this is an image of what this could look like from the dining room, looking at the new food court. So students would enter into the dining room, and then they would go into the food court, be able to select their meal options, come back out through the point of sale, and then be able to eat. So some goals for the dining space would be high volume for the ceilings, good acoustics, lots of daylight, and then as we're looking at the dining, so we're trying to maximize all of these spaces, and if starting to add technology in here, projectors, speakers, and really start to make these spaces multi-use. So that not only is it a dining space, but also this could be a large group space for students to be able and teachers to be able to have multiple classes in here and really engage this all day long. And so really try to maximize all of these spaces that we're doing in this project. So now, as we look to phase 2, so 1A, this is the auditorium addition. Phase 1B is the renovation of the dining, the kitchen spaces. Now as we look to phase 2, now we're looking at renovating CTE and educational spaces. So we talked a little bit about possibly taking your existing dining room and making that either CTE or other educational space. In phase 2, This is one of the spaces that we look to make improvements in and convert this space, your existing auditorium, into CTE or other educational space, along with making improvements in other select CTE labs. So our goal is to enhance the great program that you already have, look at what can we do to make these spaces more friendly to the public. What can we do to add additional offerings, additional CTE programs that could happen here at the facility, and make the best use of space. So phase 2, is focusing on education and really making sure that the CTE labs and this space are getting its maximum use. And now as we look at phase 3 now goes outside. We're looking at 2 projects. One of them would be to really look at upgrading your stadium. You have a beautiful stadium, and what can we do to enhance that? One of the challenges that the stadium has is ADA accessibility, both to multiple amounts of bleachers and also to your toilet and concessions. So some things that we look to do is to create a accessible path, from the upper section and lower section of the bleacher area. To the concessions and toilet rooms, to do select upgrades to those, and also to amplify accessible parking and the path from your parking area to get to the different stadium seating, and also create handrails. For those who've traveled on your bleachers to go from the upper side to the downside, it's can be a little bit nerve-wracking, and so we add upgrades for safety. But so what are some of our challenges are, as we're looking at everything, all the different activities that you have at your stadium, and you have a beautiful stadium, is what can do to enhance that for parent day, for grandparents to be able to really engage student activities that are happening, for graduation, if you want to have that, at the stadium, is what can we do to make sure that both the upside and the downside, of the bleachers and all those spaces are accessible and friendly for parents and for grandparents. So that's the stadium. On the softball side and baseball side, we're looking at creating a new field house. This will be located in between the baseball and softball fields. This space could be everything from toilet rooms to space for multi-use activities. Could be some wrestling space there. So what we're looking here is creating a freestanding, pre-engineered building located in between baseball and softball that could be used for multiple sports activities, and this would all be part of phase 3. Okay, so schedule-wise, so right now we are in the master plan phase of this, and so tonight we have a meeting for the community. As Dr. Arnold said, November 3rd and 4th, next Wednesday and Thursday, we're looking to have some additional meetings at different locations. We'll be presenting this to the school board. We're looking for input also from the board along with the community. We'll be having some additional facility committee meetings, and then we'll be presenting this also to the board of supervisors at some point in November. But so what our goal is to present this information. So we're doing this in multiple phases, and we're looking for community input. We're hoping that next Wednesday, Thursday, when we have these meetings, that folks are willing to take time to engage us and to be able to talk about these projects and the pros and cons for each one of these phases. So I am now going to open up for questions. So if anybody has any questions. I'm going to go ahead and give this back to Dr. Arnold, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Josh. I just want to make sure that those that are watching spread the word. We will have a meeting here at Amherst County High School in the cafeteria at 7 o'clock. Next Wednesday, November the 3rd, we will have a meeting for public input at Manelson Middle School's cafeteria on November 4th. That's Thursday, and that will be at 7 o'clock as well. It is really important to get out to these events. As you saw, there are some really great ideas about what it could look like, but we also want other people's perspectives. We want other people's ideas, so we can in the end come up with a product that this entire community can be proud of. And like I say, this is 30 years in the making, and I really think we can get it done, especially if we all come together. So thank you all for joining us tonight, and everybody have a great evening.